Hello there, and welcome to CRPS Q&A number 7. This Q&A is a bit unique because it's my first live Q&A. Remember, I used to do live Zooms when I first started the window pane and my group when it came to CRPS. And today I decided to do something special and host the 7th Q&A as a live Q&A. If you haven't seen the previous Q&As, 1 through 6, go ahead and go back on my YouTube and check those out now. But I hope you enjoy Q&A number 7. And I just wanted to pop in here before it starts to let you guys know that I am now offering what I call the Window Pane Power Club. And this group is going to be a book club, but a bit more involved. Okay. So I've read over 300 books during my career, some related to pain, some related to just pure life skills. And I wanted to go ahead and make an opportunity for people to meet with me monthly as a group and discuss these books as we read them and go through them. But not only that, I wanted you to have access to a community hub where you could talk to other people who are on this journey with you and access tools and knowledge and learning and other bonus videos that I'm going to have in this club. This club is going to have exclusive videos that are not offered in my online program, and they're going to be exclusive tools that you can't get on my free mailing list. Okay. I have several tiers of things that I offer. Firstly, all of my free YouTube videos, over 70 hours and counting of free things. Secondly, the Power Club, which I am starting and launching today, which will be $7 per month. And then on top of that, I also have my CRPS online program, which is slightly more expensive. And then lastly, the one-on-one pain coaching if you want to work with me one-on-one. All of these resources that I have or am launching today will be linked in the description down below. I'd love for you to join me on your journey as you learn about, overcome, and improve your pain along this journey. So thank you so much to everyone that joined the Q&A today. If you're watching this introduction and you don't know who I am, I introduced myself in the Q&A, so you'll see that there. I'm just glad you're here. I'm looking forward to the next Q&A that I'm going to host a few weeks from now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much. One. Okay, sweet. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Q&A number 7. Okay, I'm going to share my stream or my screen here real quick so that you guys can see a PowerPoint that I've put together. So this is actually the first live Q&A that I've done, which is kind of fun, kind of exciting. This is number 7. So if you haven't seen my first 6 Q&As, you can find those on my YouTube. Today, I'll go through a short introduction of myself, talk about what I do and the things I offer, and then we'll jump right into some live questions, probably starting with some of the questions that are on the Facebook group already that people asked in advance. So I'll go ahead and start this slideshow. You guys can see this okay, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry, I can't see your faces, so thank you. So yeah, let's jump into it. So for Elsie, since she's joining us, who am I? My name is Chase Teagarden. I am a physical therapist and doctor of physical therapy. Not only that, but I was diagnosed with CRPS 10 years ago myself in my left foot and lower leg following 2 back surgeries on my L5-S1 vertebral disc. Additionally, after 4 years in pain and getting out of pain, not only did I become a doctor of physical therapy, but I also became a therapeutic pain specialist and a fellow of pain science. So that is extensive training. After my 3 years of schooling as a doctor of physical therapy, I went to 3 additional years of schooling to get those 2 specializations. I then went on to treat CRPS at some of the top hospitals in the country, which I'll talk about shortly. How did I get here? Well, initially in 2007, 2008, I began to have back pain. In 2012, I had my first back surgery on the aforementioned L5-S1 vertebral disc. In 2013, I had my second back surgery on the same disc. And then shortly after surgery, I started having pain in my left foot. And then in 2014, after about 8 months, I did receive an official diagnosis of RSD, also called CRPS, in the left foot. And I suffered for a while, eventually even coming to the point where I was deciding on taking my own life. And thankfully, I made the decision to push forward And in 2017, 2018-ish, I ended up pain-free. So why I chose physical therapy is because I can work the most time with patients. So, some doctors can only see you for 10, 15 minutes. I found that impossible to truly make any impact on patients dealing with CRPS. And so I figured physical therapy would be the best route to do that. I ended up working at a private practice in Dallas for a few years, then for Baylor Scott and White at their cancer treatment center, and then for Texas Children's Hospital for several years, where I treated CRPS and other chronic pain conditions exclusively. What is CRPS? So most of you know what CRPS is, but as an overview, it's a malfunction of the processing of stimuli by the nervous system. So a lot of people think that it's a pain processing thing. Actually, it is a stimulus processing thing. So pressure, touch, heat, vibration, etc. Has signals sent to the brain in your affected limb or your whole body, depending on what you're dealing with. And the brain decides that pain for some reason is useful, and you end up with pain in that limb as the brain sends the pain signal to that limb itself. I call this an overactive alarm. And the way that we correct that alarm is we essentially reprogram it. And this is through not only helping the limb or the body understand these signals, but also understanding the deeper meaning of the pain that we're dealing with as well. I want you all to know, whether you've heard this from me before or not, that around 85% of people with CRPS will experience a reduction in their pain and a lot of their symptoms within the first 2 years. Hear that again for me, okay? 85% of people with CRPS will actually go on to live a normal life with either very reduced pain or no pain at all. And this is achieved usually through a combination of pain-based physical therapy, psychology, and sometimes with the help of medication. The first two, the physical therapy and the psychology, is what I address in my online course and also in pain coaching. Do I truly help people? We've gone through these videos before, so I won't click through them. But yes, I have a lot of articles online about, kids that I worked with at Texas Children's who are now free from pain and doing things like barrel racing at a national level and getting back to hockey. Additionally, I have a ton of testimonials by people who are actually in this very group right now in this Zoom that are getting back to the activities that they enjoy, such as puzzles, getting jacked in the gym. There you go, Matt. Hitting the beach, doing archery, etc. And we'll skip this. The reason that I do these educational Zooms and answer these questions on these Q&As is because understanding your pain and what's happening with your pain actually will reduce your pain. And this is shown by all these studies featured on the right side of the screen there. Additionally, fear and anxiety have a huge influence on pain. So if I can teach you about pain and reduce your fear and anxiety, believe it or not, I can also reduce your pain. Things I currently offer to help with CRPS. Well, I have my 8-week self-guided online program. You can join that at any time. It is completely self-paced. There are no due dates or anything like that. Some people get in it and finish it in 8 weeks. Some people get in it and it takes them 20 weeks to go through all the material in that program. Not only does that include lectures, but it also includes client videos where I'm working with clients one-on-one. It includes worksheets. It includes a direct route to me to answer your questions and concerns as you go through the course. And it's just an overall great resource. It's 10 years of my knowledge condensed down into one course. It's essentially exactly what I would want to find myself 10 years ago if I had to start from scratch. And so I've put that together for you to make it nice and easy. On top of that, I offer one-on-one customized pain coaching. So if you feel like you need something more than a self-guided program, you can sign up for a consult with me and we can talk about pain coaching where I work one-on-one with you for 8, 12, or 16 weeks, depending on your need. And then lastly, my new offering for CRPS is what I'm calling the Power Club. And this is kind of a book club, but a bit evolved from that. So not only will we meet once a month on the first Saturday of each month to go over a current book that had been assigned for that month and the materials within it and the learnings from it. But also you'll be granted exclusive access to videos that won't be featured on YouTube You'll get early access to features that will be featured on YouTube, and you'll also get access to a bunch of tools, resources, and worksheets that might be in my online course or ones that I've developed exclusively for the Power Club. So I will put a link to this Power Club in the chat here shortly, and you can join that if you would like. I would love to have you because I love doing these Zooms. So this will be the way that you get into those Zooms moving forward. Okay, so let's get out of this. And I'm going to give you guys a link to a couple of these resources. Okay, so one second. What do you guys think of some of these things? Do you have any questions about some of the things I've mentioned here?
How much is the book club?
So the book club is going to be $7 a month. I wanted something that was in between my free material and my uh, class program. And so I thought that this would be the perfect thing for that. And I'm going to find a link so that I can share that with you. Get link.
Yeah, that's reasonable, Chase.
Big
I
time.
appreciate that. I
Mhm.
wanted to find something that was mindful of the effort I'm going to put into it and also affordable for anybody. Because I know when I was going through CRPS, I didn't have any money. I was lucky I even had health insurance, to be honest. And so yeah, I'm trying to find things all in between, and it'll be cool to meet with you guys. So I've sent you a link to the Power Club, and that symbol, that kanji there, giving homage to where I'm at right now in Japan, is the symbol for power. So I thought it was kind of cool. I'm also gonna put a link in the chat for you guys for the online course if you feel like that was something that interests you. If you use the link in the chat for the online course, you'll get a special coupon that I'm only offering during the Zoom, so it'll be there. And then lastly, I'm going to give a link since Elsie's in here. I'm going to give a link to schedule a consult with me. And you'll need to go over to May because I do book out pretty fast. But this is a free consult. So if you want to get more information on some of the stuff I'm offering or what I might be able to do to help you, then it'll be there for you.
Hey,
Okay.
Chick,
Yes, I heard someone say something.
it's Kelly. Um,
Yeah.
you have often sent me some cool motivational type videos from YouTube pertaining to like specific things we talked about. Um, just curious if you're going to include some of that stuff in either your book club or if you're, because obviously I've kind of completed my personal coaching with you and I'm looking into the self-guided, if you include some of those in one of those programs.
Oh yeah, actually that's a wonderful idea. I think I most certainly will. This book club is going to be awesome because it has a lot of tools and features that'll be pretty amazing as I go through it. I'm even still learning it. So when you sign up, you will see that access begins on the 26th of this month. And I think there will be a lot of things like that, Kelly, where I have those motivational videos. It'll be something for me to get like a little bit more deeper because CRPS is, yes, there's pain in your body, but as you've learned, and a lot of the people in here have learned through my coaching, there's much more to it. And those things that I share with you, Kelly, is like those are the most meaningful things because as you overcome CRPS, not only do you get out of pain, but you then also become a more resilient and well-rounded human being. And so those videos, whether it's a Matrix quote or actual like deeper videos, they're probably the bread and butter of a lot of it. And I've sent some of those to Matt. You know, I've sent some of those to Janelle, I'm sure. So yeah, I think that would be perfect.
Because there is no spoon.
There is no spoon. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Okay, so Pat, you don't have to be on Facebook to be in the book club. It's completely separate. So if you use that top link there for the book club, you'll be able to sign up. And remember, it's more than just a book club. It's just Janelle gave me the idea for the book club in general, so that's a big part of it. And I've read hundreds of books at this point, so there'll be ones related to CRPS, but then also ones that I think are just overall good for life. Okay, so let's do this. Let me pop onto Facebook real quick and see if there is anybody in here that asked me a question on Facebook that is answerable for today. So, is there anybody in here right now that knows they asked me a question on Facebook? Oh, Trisha did. So that's a good one. And Carol did.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so Trisha, well, I can read it. Why does the pain from small things such as getting a scrape, blood draw, infection, hangnail, ingrown toenail hurt so much more after getting CRPS, even when not in an active flare on the affected limb? I feel that my CRPS is somewhat under control. However, even the slightest injury causes pain that does not match what is going on at the moment. Yes, I tell myself it's just nothing, but it continues to sound the alarm system. Yeah, so you're exactly right. So pain, the CRPS pain is the result of an overactive alarm. So I'm going to show you some material from a worksheet that I've shared in my online course and actually in my email list as well. So pain is an alarm of the body. It's a warning system. Okay, so the alarm is actually a great thing because when we step on a nail, the alarm activates. And just to make sure you guys can see this, okay, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so when we step on a nail, the alarm activates like here. And what happens is there's a spike in electrical activity that goes up to this threshold of maybe pain, and the brain decides whether or not pain is useful. And if it is useful, your alarm goes off. And then in normal bodies, after your foot is healed and bandaged, the signal goes back to normal and the alarm stops. And so we don't have pain anymore. Okay. Unfortunately for yourselves and 1 in 4 people in the whole world, you guys have an alarm that is sensitized. And what happens is you do the nail, right? You step on it, it goes up, the electrical activity, and then when it starts to come back down, whether it's post-surgery or however you acquired CRPS, your alarm stays extra sensitive, extra active. Okay. So for a while, even after you're reducing and getting out of the pain or CRPS, your alarm is still up here. And if your alarm is up there and you have another nail, you have another, ingrown toenail or scrape or minor injury, that alarm is probably still, around this area, and the activity spikes back up over this pain threshold. And so you're exactly right, Trisha. The alarm is still extra sensitive, even while you might feel like you've got it fully under control. So as time goes on, those things won't get as irritating or won't be as
Okay.
irritating. But that is why, because your system is sensitized. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Perfect.
Thank you.
So yeah, there's yours. And then uh, so yeah, Diane, I don't know what button you pushed, but you can't share things. Let's see. Carol, if you're having a flare and suspect something stressful in your life could be contributing, then what? So that's a great question. So as a lot of you know, stress is a big contributing factor to CRPS. Okay. The reason for that is because stress releases a hormone in your body called cortisol. And cortisol can cause inflammation, it can cause irritation. And when we're highly, highly stressed, which is a lot of us dealing with CRPS are because of A, the pain, but also the things going on in our life, that can cause the pain to be worse. So if you do notice something stressful is contributing to your pain, well, what do you do normally when something is stressful?
Well, I'm talking about like sometimes it's hard to remove yourself from those. Like if it's work, just for an example, if it's work, right? You still got to go. So is there some like, I don't know, mantra or something? How do you talk yourself down that, okay, it's this, so relax?
So, if you feel like
that
we're
I do is message you and that has to stop.
Well, yeah, no, I'm here for you. But if you feel like work is a main contributor of your stress, the things that you want to do is firstly decide, is this the job for you? If it is, fine. Then what you need to decide is how do I address the stress of work and make it more manageable? Okay, that could be something like setting some sort of boundary with when you're interacting with work and when you're having your free time, or, strategizing for more breaks during the day as you go through your work day, strategizing for a better way to approach, checking your emails or, certain scheduling to reduce stress. Basically, if something stressful is going on in your life, don't just grit your teeth and go through it. Find ways to reduce that stress in healthy, manageable ways that also allow you to keep your job. Okay, so, I've had some clients who at work had coworkers who were a bit of bullies, and they had to analyze how they would interact with those individuals or how they would take the words that they might be saying to them. I've had some people who, in order to address the stress of work, they updated their resume and their CV so that they had an out. If work ever got too impactful, here's my way to escape. Sometimes just having that exit plan is something that reduces stress as a whole. Or, maybe you've built up 50 vacation days and it's time to actually take a vacation and have a break instead of just gritting your teeth through it. So yeah, if you find out something stressful is causing your pain, sometimes it's enough to notice that connection. But sometimes we need to take that extra step to set some healthy boundaries there. Okay. All right. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you, Chase.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm gonna answer a few questions that are on the post on Facebook real quick, then I'll take some live questions. So we'll do some easy ones here. So Madeline asked, "Hi Chase, will the temperature changes in the body improve when the pain improves? What are some treatments to improve coldness in the hands and feet? Thank you." So if you've watched my videos, you know that one of the things I say is I use the KISS method, okay? Keep it simple, silly. So if you are having problems with temperature, your brain needs information about temperature. Okay, so for example, if someone's having problems with tolerating temperature in their feet, the way I would approach that, let's say you can't tolerate hot temperatures, and only cold works for you. What I would do is I would use like a pedicure foot spa you can get off Amazon for like $45. And what I would do is I would start with a temperature that works for you, cold, and then slowly increase that temperature from cold to be in between cold and normal to lukewarm to hot, or warm to hot, over time. Okay, so that's a way that you show the brain that, hey, my foot can tolerate this temperature as time goes on in small doses. It's the same thing with walking, for example. If you can't put your foot on the ground, or even worse, if you can't even move your foot around, we need to start with a small amount of activity towards walking. Okay, so what do we need to walk? We need to be able to move our ankle. Okay, so pretend this is my ankle. We need to be able to move our ankle. We need to be able to bend our toes, because when we fully walk and we go like this, our toes are going to bend. We need to be able to move our foot from side to side, potentially like this. Okay. We need all those motions. So the way we start to approach walking is, what can we do? For me, I couldn't move my foot at all. I had held it up like this when I was using my walker for like a year and my foot was essentially stuck. And so the first thing I did was I started wiggling my toes 5 times a day. And then the next thing I did was I started trying to wiggle them more. And then I started trying to bend my foot. Over time, I built up to being able to move. Then I had to work on touching. So I would touch my foot to a pillowcase, touch my foot to the floor. And then after that, I would practice just taking one step using my walker with assistance per day. If you really think about breaking down the task you're trying to reach, you can find ways to break that down. It's the same way that, you would approach, like, let's say, trying to climb a mountain, right? You wouldn't just go climb the mountain in one go. You'd probably need to first learn how to climb, buy equipment, work up to walking or hiking, etc. So that's temperature, the foot bath. That is pressure, which is the walking and moving. If you're having trouble with pressure when it comes to wearing a shoe, what you can do is you can get progressively looser to tighter shoes. So maybe you start with a Croc, and then you move to a flexible sandal, and then you move to a tighter shoe that you can lace up or Velcro. And then you move to a very, very tight shoe, that's progress. And you do that, maybe you can only tolerate it for 10 minutes a day to start. I have one client right now that's starting with a sock on their foot for 10 minutes a day. And then they take it off. So that's the pressure aspect. And then, if you're having trouble with light touch, with something brushing against it, well, what do you think we're going to do? We're going to start with a feather, a pillowcase, these tiny things a few times a day. And what that does is it teaches the brain, hey, this touch is safe. I can handle this. And then you move forward and you progress. Okay, so that's a good question from Madeline. Do you guys have any questions about that question?
Can I, sorry,
Go ahead.
I had a question, like kind of added on to that a little bit. Like I have a problem where like I could just like be sitting around like or walking and I get the pins and needles sensation so bad, like, and it like stays for so long. Is there something that you can suggest with that? Because that is like so hard and I don't really know what to do when that comes on.
So give me more information about when that comes on. Have you noticed a pattern about when that happens?
No, it's not anything that just brings it on. It just comes out of nowhere. It's not like it happens like at certain times a day. It's not like I'm doing something in particular. That's like the hard part about it. It just comes randomly. Sometimes it'll stay for a little bit. Sometimes it'll be all night, or sometimes it'll be for 5 hours. Sometimes it'll be for 3 days straight. Like it's just very random and seldomly, that it happens. And I don't really have control over it.
Mm-hmm. So, this is something, pain and sensations, they have a purpose. And so I'll break it down for you. So imagine this, Nikki, you step off a curb and you sprain your ankle. It hurts, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's say you step off a curb and you sprain your ankle and there's a bus coming at you. Is your ankle going to hurt?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're going to run though, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So you're going to run, and I don't think it's going to hurt in that moment, right?
Mhm.
Because the brain has decided pain would be bad right now because I would die, right? The bus would hit me. Okay. And so that demonstration, essentially, step off a curb and sprain your ankle hurts. Step off a curb and sprain your ankle doesn't hurt until we get away from the bus. What is happening is the brain is deciding pain would be bad. And so when we have this random pain, this weird pain, what is happening is your brain is deciding pain is good. And the reason for that can be quite interesting. And when someone comes to me and they say, there's no pattern to it, it has nothing to do with my physical activity, it can just happen randomly when I'm sitting there and it'll last for a strange duration. What I often look to are other patterns in the person's life that are not physical that may be contributing to this pain. For example, through my career, I've had, when I treated adults, back pain always increased around November and December. Why do you think that is, Nikki?
The cold weather.
No. Let's get more specific. That could be a reason, sure. But what about my clients who live in Texas?
Okay, so maybe the holiday stress.
Yes. Now you're getting it. Okay. So, it's much easier to deal with back pain or these sensations than it is to confront the fact that we hate our in-laws.
Yeah.
Okay, so these personal factors are one of the main drivers when it comes to CRPS, and I'll show you why for you new people. This is what I call the CRPS personality, and I want you to tell me if this resonates with you when you read it.
Okay.
Does this look familiar to anybody in here? And if it does, you can say I.
Aye.
Hi.
I
All 27 of you should be
Aye.
saying
Oh,
I.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yes, I.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Okay, so how did I know that? How are you reading about yourself on the page when you see that CRPS personality? Do you think it's because, your toe got messed up, or you have plantar fasciitis, or you have a herniated disc, or you have tendonitis in your elbow, or you had that carpal tunnel surgery, or Martin's neuroma, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Or do you think that there's more to this pain than you realize?
There probably is more to the pain than I realize.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And to give people a preview, and this can be an activity that people can do on their own who aren't in my online course or pain coaching, so that are sitting in here. I'm going to show you an activity that I call the timeline, and I'm going to help you understand this random, quote unquote, random sensation of pain that you have. So give me 1 second and I'll show you what the timeline entails.
Okay.
And this is very exciting for me because this took me, believe it or not, almost 9 years to figure out myself as I searched for a lot of answers as to what was going on with this CRPS pain. And for those of you that are saying, well, wait, I had the surgery and then it started. I get that. I do. But sometimes the surgery is just the breaking point, the tipping point of the stress scale of our life. Okay. And so the brain, it says pain is useful to distract us and protect us from these stressors, such as work stressors, right, Carol? And, instead of confronting that, why don't we just have physical pain? Physical pain is sometimes easier in our minds than having emotional or mental pain. And that is why people do things like pull out their hair or cut themselves or, do something more other like consumption of alcohol or other addictions that are physical fixations, because it pulls us out of our mind and protects us in some way. Okay, so the timeline. This activity, sorry, that's a preview for the course. So this activity is one of the,
Case.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. When you're talking about that foot bath, how many times do you have to do that? Or do you do it so many times a week? Do you just do it until you can tolerate
Let
the
me
heat
let
or
me
the
finish
cold?
this question here, Pat, and then I'll circle back right
Okay,
after.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Okay, so the timeline. It's making me go to the beginning. Here we go. So this is my timeline. I kind of discussed it in the beginning of my, this presentation, but the physical timeline. So what you write down on this timeline, and pay close attention here, not only are you writing down physical instances of things that happened, but I want you to also write down any episode of some sort of mystery illness. Okay, so that can include, as a general list, not only the CRPS diagnosis, but a chronic illness of back pain, skin conditions, gut conditions, migraines, any of the alphabet syndromes, thoracic outlet syndrome, amplified musculoskeletal pain syndrome, things like fibromyalgia, FND, if you've experienced that, POTS, PANS, PANDAS, mast cell activation syndrome, etc. Okay, the list goes on. I want you to list that out on your physical timeline all the way through. Okay, so for me, this example timeline starts at 2008. That's when my back pain began, right? The next event was 2012 when I had my first back surgery. The next one was 2013 when I had my second back surgery. Then I was diagnosed with CRPS. As my CRPS improved, I was diagnosed with chronic migraines from 2015 to 2018. I dealt with that. And then as both CRPS and those migraines subsided, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. Okay, so that's the physical timeline. Then what I want you to do is I want you to, right underneath that, create an emotional timeline. Okay, and now I'm gonna show you mine. Okay, it's physical. So here's the emotional timeline. So in 2008, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. In 2011, my mom died due to that cancer. In 2013, my brother passed away, taking her death hard and due to substance abuse. In 2014, I was diagnosed with CRPS. In 2015 to 2018, of course, I was struggling to move forward with life. I was depressed. I felt stuck. And then in 2019, I had my sister moved in with me to take care of her and take the burden off my father. She dropped out of school, and at the same time, I was president of my class taking neuroscience, the hardest course in my program. Then what I want you to do with those two timelines is I want you to combine them and look what happens. I have confidence that all of you in here, if you made a timeline similar to mine, it would line up like this. Okay, and if you think back to when you first started having pain and you think back to what was going on in your life at that time, the veil of what is happening with CRPS starts to unfold. Does this tend to resonate with you at all, Nikki, just as a quick overview?
It's like mind boggling because I never thought to connect all these things. And I was going through a point in time where I had a surgery a year for 7 years straight.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of 3 deaths in 1 year, my guy best friend passed away, my female best friend passed away, my aunt passed away. So it was a lot. And my CRPS was finally like kind of like I don't know, like subsiding, like I wasn't having the symptoms as bad. And then I ended up taking a fall and breaking my ankle in 3 places in November of 2023. And since then, it's been really bad again. And I've had, other stuff happen since then. So I never thought to put all that together. So I think I want to make a list like that and just compare the two, because personally and medically, I have had so much. And I never thought that all that contributes to the CRPS. But that does make a lot of sense.
Not only does it contribute, but I would even go so far to say is it's the reason.
Wow.
And this is a lot of times this is hard to see and accept, but with all the things that you've gone through, would you resonate with the statement, it's been hard to find your footing?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I want you to listen closely to that. It's been hard to find my footing. What hurts?
My foot.
I've had people, Amy, for example, she came to me and she said, I have a lot on my plate, and the pain was in her jaw. She was actually about to have surgery. She's in here. In our language, there are things like this built in. So, for example, it's a lot for me to handle. I don't know where we stand. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. You get on my last nerve.
Wow.
You are a pain in my... Okay. And sciatica pain, we blame it on the piriformis. Maybe it's the fact that our sister stopped talking to us, these things, this is the deeper meaning when it comes to CRPS. And you know this because you've had scans, you've had tests, you've been to every doctor, and everyone says what?
All the doctors tell me that it's not going to go away, and I just have to live with it.
Well, they're wrong. Don't worry about
Only
that.
one doctor told me that the pain was in my head, but the rest of them told me it's just something I have to deal with.
So I want to make this very clear. It's not in your head. It's in your foot. Okay. This is not something you've made up. This is not something you can control. This is not something you've done to yourself. This is a result of a nervous system that has carried a load that was too heavy for too long. And eventually your mind and body, because it is one thing, has said enough. Okay. And so when the brain hears things like, this is a lot for me to carry, of course our back hurts. Or this is a lot for me to handle, of course our hand starts to hurt. Or there's a lot on our plate, of course we get trigeminal neuralgia or pain in our jaw. This is just kind of built into life. And with CRPS, what happens is because we are that person that I showed you, that personality, we are, chronic caretakers. We often suppress our anger and our emotions. We often deny our needs for others. We're perfectionists to a fault, etc. What happens is there's a generalized tension that builds up in our life as we take on these loads and this pressure, and we put all this pressure on ourselves to be perfect and good. Eventually, we just boil over. The teapot, explodes, and boom, there's the pain. And not only is there the pain, this is the human condition. People get eczema. People get, other conditions that doctors can't really explain. So, for example, with my ulcerative colitis, the doctor said, "Shut up, take the medicine. Here's your sulfasalazine. We don't know what's going to fix it." But when I addressed the stressors in my life and I started to set boundaries for myself and realize that I don't have to save everyone, those symptoms stopped. And it's really hard to realize that you don't have to save the world and that you're enough just as you are. But that's something that I help teach you, not only in my online course, but also through one-on-one coaching. And there's people here, if you want to raise your hand that I'm teaching right now or have taught. Yeah. These same things, and we go through that kind of stuff. So yeah, let me go through the
Thank you for that. That really helped a lot. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, if you have ever seen The Matrix, that I'm in Morpheus and that's the red pill. That's a nod to Kelly. No, when I realized this, okay, so before I go into more questions, I wanna say how I realized this, okay? I read so many books. I went to school, I did all these things. And it was only once I saw my first CRPS patient while I was a student, and I was at this clinic in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where Jason Terry, and if he somehow sees this, thank you. But my CRPS patient that I was working with, he was the first one I had seen in all my schooling, and he had CRPS in the hand. And he left after treatment, and I started crying. Like it didn't make any sense. I just started crying, like bawling my eyes out. And I hadn't really let myself feel emotion that much up until that point. In fact, while I went through school, I said emotion is what makes us weak, was one of the things I said in class before. And my clinical instructor, he put his hand on my shoulder and he said to me, Chase, what are you feeling? And I didn't even have to think. I said grief. And knowing my timeline story and the deaths and losses that I had, the fact that I said grief in relationship to a patient that was in here, it kind of like broke my mind. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've missed this all along. And that's when my education truly started, because I started diving into these emotional aspects of my life that I had buried. I had pushed them down so far that they had no place to go except my foot. Okay. I digress. Now, let me go back up here and see what we have for questions.
Can I ask my question again?
Oh, yes. Sorry, Pat. Yes. So Pat was saying, Pat was excited. So Pat was saying with the foot bath, how do you approach this? Okay. So it's going to depend on the person, right? What are you having trouble with from a temperature standpoint if you're going for the foot bath? And the foot bath the reason I love it, it has a whole bunch of other,
I can't stand cold.
okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with, hot or warm, and then we're going to go down to lukewarm, and then to normal, and then we're going to go down to cool, and then
But
cold.
does that take like a day, or does that take a week, or?
So what I would suggest is let's start with like warm, essentially. Well, you're going to the pool. So Pat's been going to the pool, so it's a little bit different. Is the pool heated?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start with a normal temperature, room temperature water. Okay. And we'll have
Okay.
the foot bath going. Maybe we put the jets on or the vibration, whatever features it has. And then let's do that for a week. Okay. And then for the next week, maybe we'll do the first 2 days of normal. And then we'll do the next 5 days of a little bit cooler than normal. Okay. And you can achieve this by putting in cooler water, letting the water sit out and have your feet in it while you do it, for a longer period of time, or dropping an ice cube in there. And you can go by ice cube rating. You can do 1 ice cube, you can do 2 ice cubes, and then 3, as the weeks go on. You can kind of be the judge of this. Like, for example,
Yeah.
Pat, you wanted to get used to the biking, right?
Mhm.
And so with the biking, the way that we approach that is we did a minute more, per week, or a minute more per day. And that's the same thing. You're going to approach it nice and slow. In the same way I would if I was going to like do a cold plunge. So I have a cold plunge at my house, and I couldn't start with, 40 degrees. I had to start with like 60, and work up over time. So yeah, that would be my suggestion, is let's do a slow progression. I like to start with like a week at a time
Yeah.
to make sure the brain understands it's safe. What's cool about an ice bath, and the reason I like it, is because the brain, and I'm going to show you guys this as a reference image. So somatosensory cortex images. All right, hold on. Let me pull this up. Here we go. Okay. Oh, this one's way better than the one I normally use. Save as. Oh no, that's not gonna work. Okay, hopefully you'll be able to see this okay. So this, can you see this, guys?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the somatosensory cortex. This is your brain's map of your body. Okay, and on the edges here, so see, it's representing right and left side of these body things. So face, hands, legs, etc. This mirroring effect where the thing is sandwiched on the brain, right? Is the very reason that we have when we feel like CRPS quote unquote spreads. It's not because the CRPS as like some sort of venom thing is going through our body like from one hand to the other hand. That's not what's happening. What's happening is the brain has been dealing with this pain and this sensitivity for so long that it has started to become a little blurry. And it generally becomes blurry in a mirrored fashion. Okay, so you can see the hand represented right here. As the pain gets more intense, or the more time we've spent in pain guarding our hand, not giving the brain information through foot baths or touching things, then it blurs, goes across this chasm here, and we get pain in the other hand. Okay, but the more we give the brain information, the less that spreading will stop and reduce, and will actually, a lot of you have experienced this with coaching. You know, you had pain in the foot and it spread up the leg and to the other leg and to the back. But as I coached you, the pain came down and went back to the original position. And that's because we're starting to give the brain information over time, and the pain is reducing in a fashion that that brings it back to the original location. And then eventually, dealing with the other things in life, the pain can go away. So for me, I had CRPS that quote unquote spread up my leg. But then as I got better, it went back down to my foot, which is a certain spot in the foot. And those of you within your feet, you know which spot it is. That's where the pain localized, and then it eventually went away. So the reason, that being said, the reason I like the foot bath is because guess what? We're doing 2 feet at once. And 2 feet at once means the brain gets the example of, okay, left foot, which doesn't hurt, is safe. Right foot, which does hurt, is hurting for some reason. There's a mismatch. And the brain likes balance. Okay. And so if we teach the left foot or the right foot that the left foot is safe when we are in the foot bath, that is going to update the brain's map and information to help it get out of pain. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's another reason we have things like mirror therapy. Okay, mirror therapy is something that was first used, invented by V.S. Ramachandran. It was first used on amputees. Okay, and for example, the best example is an amputee came in and his hand was blown off, and he felt like it was stuck like this. Okay, and then this as an example of a mirror. Ramachandran set the mirror here, and it was like a box. Okay, like this. Okay, and the amputee put his hand that was missing, gone, in the box, and then his other hand on the other side, and looked at the mirror, which was here, to see this hand. And then Ramachandran instructed him to imagine that he was opening the hand that wasn't there. So he looked in the box, he imagined, and he opened this hand, and he had almost instant relief, feeling like the hand was no longer stuck like this. Okay, and that is because, again, the brain likes balance, and you can trick it very easily with this mirror therapy process. So if we apply that to things in life, okay, let's say we're doing exercises trying to strengthen our CRPS hand. What do you think you should do to improve this? You're just squeezing on this hand. What will you do to make this better?
Squeeze the other end.
Yes. Okay. So you'll squeeze at the same time, both hands. The way I generally do this is, let's say, I don't have the balls here, but you can get a kit, a grip training kit from Amazon, and it has like 3 different balls at 3 different grip strengths. So let me see if I can grip. I'll pull up the exact kit so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Grip strength ball. Okay, here they are. So you can get a kit like this. So if you're dealing with it in your hand, I'll share this. You can get a kit like this, okay? And it has soft, hard, medium balls there, okay? That's on Amazon. So any kit you want to get is fine. But this kit will be here. And remember, this will be on YouTube, so you'll be able to look at this. So you get a kit like that, okay? You take the hand that's not hurting, you put the medium ball in it. You take the hand that is hurting, you put the light ball in it. And then you squeeze them both at the same time. If you can't squeeze equally as hard in both hands, just squeeze as hard as you can. So maybe you only squeeze this much with this hand and this much with this hand. What that's doing is it's giving the brain information, updating that map, that sandwich map for both hands. Okay, so that's going to help with the sensitivity. So approaching, CRPS and recovery or healing when it comes to CRPS, of course, you have to do the physical aspect because you haven't been using the hand, you haven't been updating the brain. Your brain thinks this area of your body needs to be protected. So you have to do the physical things. But at the same time, you also have to pay attention to and acknowledge the mental and emotional things that are creating this pain. Okay. So yeah, let me keep going through this. Did that help, Pat? Is that I kind of went above and beyond there.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let me read the chat real quick and then we'll jump to the next.
I don't know if I can talk or not.
Yeah, you can talk. I hear you.
I don't know, so I understand where you're coming from. I got told this by a physio who did a questionnaire of me not long ago about stuff like this, about trying to trick your brain. And so, for instance, me having a shower, going into a shower room and having the shower on my legs, because I have it in both legs, is absolutely painful. He was like, well, try and do it in a bowl. I have literally tried absolutely everything. He says you just need to, because obviously he said you've got to try. He said it's not tricking the brain. He said it is tricking the brain, but to me it's very complicated, all this, because to me a lot of professionals are trying to do like questionnaires and they're trying to say that we have it's obviously a dissociation. I can't, not dissociation, a thingy of our body. My brain's gone dead, sorry. Where you can't, what do you call it, where you don't like that body part anymore? So what would you call that?
Dissociation, yeah, or yeah.
Which again comes under borderline personality disorder.
Well,
if you understand what I mean. So there's a lot of things that you said which I have tried and tried and tried, and my brain is like, I don't know, because the thing is with me, my feet, so as well as having CRPS in both legs, both of my feet are so badly deformed that they physically, you cannot get me to walk or stand up because they are just literally my cousin's a physio and she says for me to walk I'd have to have them cracked back.
So I would love, and this falls into the category of let's talk one-on-one. And the reason for that is there's more to your story that I need to know, and that's evident by what you put in the chat. There's too much going on in my life. That's what you said. I'm reading it right now. I think we should talk one-on-one. I'll have you know that I've had patients come to me in person when I was working at Texas Children's Hospital that had both their feet curled and turned in like this, like that, like underneath. I can't really do it properly with my hands. And they were red. Okay. And they got back to walking. And we'll talk about it. I understand you feel like you've tried everything. I understand, certain physios have given you some of this guidance, but, book a free consult with me and let's actually talk more in depth so I can get more background from you and help you find a path forward. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, awesome. If you need the link to it, that's on my website, thewindowpain.com, and we'll go from there. And I see, let's see. Yeah, I see your foot has curved and toes starting to curl. Yeah, I've seen plenty of individuals with that going on. It's called functional dystonia is what it's called. And functional means that things are functioning properly, but there's dystonia occurring. That's like functional migraines, right? Functional neurologic symptom disorder. Kelly's giving you encouragement. What if you experience this pain 24/7, never stops, but you keep moving, life keeps moving? I'm not sure what the question is there, Diane. Are you? You're muted.
Thought I, nope, I,
Now you're good. Now you're muted again.
gosh, okay.
Now you're good.
You know, I guess I wrote that because the biggest question is how in the world do people get in remission? How in the world, when you mentioned that question as far as, or that statement that people aren't experiencing CRPS anymore, it's like, I have it 24/7. I was in the hospital all day yesterday, not because of CRPS, but because of starting Orencia. And I know this may not, well, it kind of goes hand in hand with CRPS, but my body has, it's gotten 50 times worse after having just one shot of Orencia. And I just wanted any comments from you from that. Yes, different meds can affect you differently, but it's like, man, I didn't think I could live the way I was living before, but right now, and that's in the Orencias, that's for rheumatoid arthritis. The methotrexate wasn't doing what it needed to do, so I'm taking both of them now. And just your opinion, those when you have CRPS, I was in there because of dehydration. But how does that affect, like anything else? Everything affects CRPS, your emotions, your so much. I mean, somebody could say something or tell you a sad story and your whole body just goes crazy. But meds like these, what is it doing? Because it's like my body was doing pretty well as far as CRPS before I started the Orencia. And now I am like worse than I've ever been my entire life. I just wanted your opinion.
So you're asking me why are you reacting to the med that way?
Oh my God. Yes.
Okay, when did you first start it?
That was this Tuesday.
Okay, have you stopped?
They don't want me to stop.
They don't want you to stop, and it's causing you this much pain.
Yes.
I would tell them you need to stop.
I know it sounds crazy, but when you are dealing with, you're taking Orencia, so it can destroy the bad cells. It's kind of like a chemo. So Orencia can destroy the bad cells, and you get blood work done every 3 months, so it's not destroying the good cells. You're talking about your organs. I can't just stop taking it. I understand why they don't want me to stop taking it, but why? You ask yourself, because before you give yourself that shot that night, you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting this in my body if it's just going to make me miserable? But you don't want to cause problems to your organs either.
Okay, so there's a few things here that I'll mention, and then we can go from there.
Thank you.
You always have autonomy as a patient. There are other routes that doctors can find outside of that medication. If you really talk to them and say, look, this is causing me a lot of pain. I understand that I need help for these reasons from this medication. Is there another route we can take? That's one thing. The next thing is what you just described to me about this feeling of why am I doing this? Why am I putting in this in my body? That alone in and of itself will cause you to have more pain. And here's the reason why for those that don't understand this concept, but there's something called a placebo effect. That is something that happens when we are given a medication and we have heard favorable things about it. Okay, so for example, let's use low dose naltrexone. Okay, some people speak highly of that. And if we believe that LDN will help us and make things better, then the chance of it actually doing that is significantly higher. Now, if you have this anorexia and you are sitting there thinking, why am I doing this? This is poison for my body, blah, 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 blah. The chances it'll make the pain worse is exponentially higher. And that's called the nocebo effect. That's the reverse of the placebo. Another good example of this is if I gave you 2 tubes of lotion and they're both CeraVe, non-scented CeraVe lotion. One tube, it says this will hurt, this will burn. The other tube, it says this will help, this will feel good. If I did that with a group of people and they trusted me, what would happen is not only would the group that got the this will hurt lotion, will they report that it's painful and it burns, but they'll also have redness on their skin from the lotion. And then the other group, if I give this will feel good, not only will they report it'll feel good, but they might even have like a temperature drop or report a tingling feeling in their skin. Remember, these are both CeraVe. And so this is pure proof of the placebo and nocebo effect manifest. So 2 answers to your question. 3, let's do 3. So firstly, talk to your doctors. Okay, you don't have to just suffer. There has to be something else they can do.
I did, yeah.
Okay. The second, I would encourage you, if you're going to continue to take it or you feel like you have to, I would encourage you to look up positive stories only of this medication. Okay. So instead of looking like side effects of such and such or negative effects of this, I would look up, positive things about taking orexia. Okay. What we feed our brain is our reality. All right. And then that's a big reason why this nocebo and placebo effect is a big reason why in my support group, I make sure that the content in there is uplifting and hopeful, etc., versus other support groups where, it could be constant sharing of doom and gloom. There's the nocebo effect taking place there. And then lastly, the third thing, shoot, I just had it. The third thing when it comes to this, it'll come back to me, but
it happens. Yep.
But yeah, so let's start with those 2, like understanding the framing of what's happening with his medication.
I had a suggestion as well, Chase.
Yeah, Matt, go ahead.
I don't know if she's tried asking the doctor to work with switching doses to try and find an equilibrium that's better for her.
That's true.
Well, this was my first shot this week, and it's kind of like
it just came back to me. So they're going to balance out the doses. Matt, perfect example, but this is the last example. So your first shot. So remember the alarm I talked about in the beginning, right? How our alarm is hyperactive. Sometimes when we have a break-in, whether it's a shot or a small procedure or a small injury, the alarm goes off. So this first shot that you've had, Diane, it probably set off the alarm, especially because of our emotions around it. But potentially, as you continue to get shots on a regular basis and your body begins to expect what's coming, it might get easier. So chemotherapy, for example, when my mom was going through it, the first round was awful. The second round was a little better, and the third round a little better, and the fourth round, she barely noticed it outside of being a little sleepy. Okay, so your body adapts to this stimulus. And so maybe right now what this shot has caused, for a number of reasons, which we just discussed, is a bit of a flare-up.
Oh gosh, yes.
And the cool thing about flares is that they're called flares for a reason, because they burn out. Okay, so eventually, this was just a couple days ago, this will start to come down and you'll probably get back to the baseline you were at. Okay, so I want you to remind yourself of that. This might be temporary because of what's happened there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I told myself that. I mean, it's only a week ago, I was actually able to walk through a mall, and first time that I've ever closed some rings on my, on my app.
On your watch.
And then as soon as I take this shot, it's like you can barely stand. You can't even type because your fingertips are on fire. I mean, your fingertips, it's like the nerves are just wanting to jump out of your fingertips is what it feels like.
But I think it's important too, and Chase teaches this, that like I got the spinal cord stimulator put in. Oh my God, it quadrupled my pain. I just had it taken out. I was in a place with Chase where I wasn't feeling pain anymore, and now I am. So we're talking about that alarm system. I think it's important too that you don't focus on the flares, because I know from personal experience that the more you focus on it, the more it's going to think it's your best friend and the longer it's going to stick around.
Oh, no, I'm very good at that. I'll stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning cleaning, and people are asking me, why are you up? Because I'm staying busy to keep my mind off of something, and they don't understand it, but that's okay, you know. But yeah, I do that. I do things to stay busy to keep my mind off, and I function better that way.
I'd be interested to meet with you in a consult as well, Diane. I think, just hearing some of the wording you're using, especially in what you just said there. Those that have worked with me know why I'm saying this, but I'd love to meet with you in a free consult. So please do go to my website and book that if you're interested.
No, I will after this. Was that a good thing or a bad thing, staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning?
It can be good. It can be both. It's a curse and a blessing. Let's say that.
It's productive at least.
Yes. So I see Karen's hand. So I'm going to get to you 1 second, Karen. But I want to show you this, Diane, and everybody in the group as just a general reminder. Okay. I know that last week we were at the mall and we were doing things, and I know it can be frustrating, but I want to encourage you to not call what is happening right now a setback. This is a learning experience. Okay. This is what we think our journey with CRPS is going to be like. This is what it actually looks like. Okay. There's ups and downs, there's flares, there's a whole roller coaster loop-de-loop. Over the 4 years that I dealt with pain, I was up and down and all around, on and on and on. And this is because I didn't have anyone like me telling me that things were getting better. I was just trying to live. And what would happen is I'd go to the gym and I'd try 1 minute on the Stairmaster, and then I'd be scared to go back to the gym for a month because of the flare that happened. Okay. Now I'm here to help you guys understand that, hey, this up and down of life is all part of this road to feeling better. Okay. So remind yourself of that. Just because we're not moving linearly up, these dips are all part of it. Okay. Just like life, right? We have things in life even before we dealt with CRPS where we would have really hard dips, periods of depression, extra anxiety, etc. And then we'd have times in life when we were up on cloud nine, living our best life. Okay, so that's all part of it. So that recovery chart's important. Okay, Karen, I'm ready for you now.
Hi, Chase.
Hey.
So I wanted to get your take on something. When I finally got diagnosed a couple years in, I had a dream that I was like telling a doctor, like, I have CRPS, like I finally know what I have. And I guess like some part inside of me was agreeing with that or reckoning with that. I don't know. But I woke up with my toe sweating for the first time ever. And it made me wonder, like, okay, so for years I had never had sweating with the CRPS. And so I just thought that was fascinating that all of a sudden in the dream, like I click into believing that I have CRPS or knowing that I have it, and then wake up with a new symptom that I only would have read about online, that was not arising organically. So I would just love to get your take on that.
Yeah, and I actually love that you said this. So this is very much what I talk about with both the idea of spreading and the idea of ice when it comes to CRPS. Okay, so when I was dealing with CRPS, I was reading because the doctors gave me no information. So of course I'm going to read. I was reading about spreading. I had just discovered it on Burning Nights, their website, and someone had wrote an article basically saying that it spreads, it'll spread to your entire body. One guy even had it in his genitals. I just read all this stuff and I was absorbing it and I was freaking out. And my father came home from work because I was living with him at the time, and I got up and I hobbled over to him and I said, Dad, it's going to spread. It's going to get worse. It's going to go to my private areas. And I just was bawling, crying. And at this point, I only had it in the bottom of my foot. The next morning, I woke up and it had spread almost to my knee. Is that because CRPS is a poison and it has spread up my knee coincidentally at that evening? Or is that because of the pure belief that it could happen? I think the latter is more likely. And so, yeah, Karen, I mean, in that dream, if you had this realization, this acceptance, and then what comes with that acceptance is these other symptoms, of course that's possible. And there's studies about this that I even share in my some of my videos. For example, the video "Watch Your Language" is all about the placebo and nocebo effect and the power of belief. There was a doctor in Tennessee who diagnosed a man with cancer and told the man he has 3 months to live. The man died 3 months later. He diagnosed the wrong man. The man did not have cancer. And so belief, that's called a medical hex. Belief is a very powerful thing. And yeah, absolutely. That the sheer belief or acknowledgement of you having CRPS could be the thing that made your toes sweat.
Thanks. Yeah, I also have like just last night I dreamt that both of my feet were like bright red and swollen and burning, and I actually don't have any of those symptoms in that way.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting, yeah, how the subconscious is, yeah, working with a lot of fear, right, of what other people's CRPS looks like.
Yes.
So still working on that.
This is actually a big reason why I tell people to monitor what they absorb in support groups. What happens in support groups is people will show pictures of their limb. And for example, there'll be limbs that have like ulcers or sores or things like that. And they'll say, oh my gosh, that's where I'm headed. This is CRPS at its worst. I am doomed. What the truth is, a lot of times those images are not CRPS at all. This person could have diabetes. They have diabetic ulcers. What you're seeing in those groups is not always accurate. Even the images that say CRPS fact number 47, those are often just created by people dealing with CRPS and using crowdsourced information. So for example, ice. Ice is not a bad thing for CRPS, but there's a feeling that it is the worst thing that you could ever do. And that comes from a source linked through Harvard. But if you actually investigate that study, it's a case study with one patient who kept ice on for the entire day. So of course, if I take ice and I put it on my cheek for an entire day, yeah, I'm going to get frostbite. I'm going to have horrible side effects. But that doesn't mean that it's going to cause spreading. That doesn't mean that, it's ice and CRPS are bad. You can do ice, for 10 minutes a day, and then alternate it, ice for 10 minutes, off for an hour, etc., like an athlete would. No problem. And that actually piggybacks into Emily's question. So Emily, if you respond better to cold than heat, totally cool. Yes, you can use cold when having a flare, but here's the caveat. I would encourage you when you use that cold to gradually reduce the time that you use it. Okay, so if you're having a flare and you use it normally for 20 minutes, I'd like you to do 19 for a week, 18 for the next week, 17 for the next week. And the reason for that is because your body responds to what you give it. So if I was training to be a diver in swimming and I practice holding my breath, eventually my body gets better at holding its breath. If you are putting your body in cold, eventually your body gets better at heating up the limb to counteract the cold. So if you are constantly putting the ice on, what you're actually doing is you're training that part of your body to be hot. Does that make sense?
It does. It's just for me, it's different every time. So it happens in the evenings. Some evenings I can put cold on it for just a short period of time and it improves very quickly, and other times it takes longer. So for me, that's hard to know like how to reduce the time since it's different every time.
I want you to set a standardized time and reduce the time from there.
Okay.
I know
Thanks.
it's going to be hard at first, but that's what I'd like you to do.
Okay, I will try that. Thank you.
Of course. Matt, go ahead. I see you over there.
Yeah, to what she was saying, it's the same thing's happening to me. I wake up or have been waking up at all times of the night. My foot swelling, my foot red, my groin in pain. Using ice has become a savior per se, where I just use it all the time, and it's become a crutch, more or less. And now I don't use it at all. I just listen to what Chase has taught me, and I get up and go. I'm going for a walk, and even though my groin is in pain and my feet hurt, I walk 3 miles, and I come back, and each day it gets a little bit better. I just my brain is getting used to not submitting to what's going on, and knowing that my brain controls this and not the pain. I'm just moving forward. And so far, life has been getting better and better. Under your
Awesome.
tutelage, of course.
Well, Matt, I appreciate you saying that. And when I first met Matt, he was scared to even lift anything more than 2 pounds. And now he's
Yeah.
going and lifting in the gym with dumbbells.
Yeah.
And they did this whole reconstructive project on his house. They took the door frames and they widened them because his shoulders had gotten so big from all his lifting.
It's
So they could
unfortunate
barely-
that you've gotten me to this point, because now I have to carry the groceries in.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
And Matt's about to go on a big trip pretty soon
Yay.
here in 5 days or so. Yeah.
That's right. Time to bon voyage.
Yeah, so we've been training Matt and preparing him to go on this Italy trip with his lovely wife Laurel, who's over there hiding.
Hello.
But I'm very excited for him. And this might be a good question before I get to I think it's Lisa's question about the CRPS and trigeminal neuralgia and tinnitus. But this might be a good time if there's anybody else that I'm working with right now in here that would like to say how helpful it might have been. You feel free. And yeah.
I'll say
Well, I
something.
will.
Okay, Cheryl,
Oh.
you go ahead first.
I
There you
haven't
go.
had a lot of sessions yet because of different reasons, and I did take the time out to do that other therapy. But I can say the few sessions we have had, I have found it very helpful. I want to appreciate what Matt just said, because I'm finding it hard, and I cry easy.
Yeah.
And so I'm finding it hard to just want to move forward.
Yeah.
And there are definitely psychological reasons for that, which I have come to understand, I think with you, Chase, and beginning to write that letter to my son, that it's not fair for me to go forward if he can't.
Mm. Yeah.
So that is, sorry, you guys, I'm a crier, but
Cheryl, did your son pass?
yes.
So
It's
did
been-
mine. I lost my son 2 years ago to overdose.
Oh my God, me too. 4 years, so you're
Yeah.
way ahead of me.
I understand your pain wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
It helps to know that there are other people out there experiencing exactly the same thing you're experiencing, because you think you're alone and you're not.
And it's good to hear you say about just getting up and moving forward, because that is
Yes.
what I don't want to do. I resist
You have
it.
to.
I know, and that's what I'm learning. And
He would
but
want you
I
Yes,
resist
your son
it
would want
because
you to move forward.
He would. Oh God, he was so sweet and kind. Yeah, he would.
Yes, he would.
Yeah. And he
Yeah.
was always trying to find a reason, an answer for my pain. Some method, some procedure, some medicine. He researched all the time. He
It's
was a
just you.
sweetheart.
You're the one that's got to do it.
I know. Oh, I do that.
Yeah.
I research all the time, but it's
I'm-
like he would want me to move forward, I guess. is
I've
what
been
I'm
writing
saying.
letters extensively, and it seems like I write 6 or 7 letters, and all of a sudden I've got 15 more to write. It's like
Yeah, there you go.
it just keeps coming in. Well, I could write him a letter, make me feel better, and I could write her. And it is making me feel better. It's making me feel a lot better, and especially the one I wrote to myself.
Well, yeah, that's a biggie.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a
so-
biggie. It took a while.
So Matt's
A
on,
couple of tissue boxes but I'm here.
what would you say? You're on what, letter 9 or something, Matt?
That's great.
About that.
So
Probably
this is,
another 7 to go.
so yeah, and Matt loves to express himself through writing. Some clients I have paint, some clients I have, create a song, write a song. But Cheryl, yeah, we've been on a little bit of break because you've been doing these other some other therapies, but we're coming back here in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and we'll keep going. And I want you to at least promise me for sure this, that we're still having more sessions and moving forward in 2 weeks from
Yes.
now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely,
Good,
without a doubt.
good.
You're
And
definitely not alone, Cheryl.
yeah.
Nope.
I lost my husband, sister, and son all within 4 months.
Oh my.
So
Yeah.
So, yeah,
can I point something out? All of you that are
sure.
sitting in here, do you think it's coincidence that all of this happened? And we have CRPS? Or do you think that
No.
that maybe there's more to this than
It contributed to.
yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I want you to know that, because not only is there loss, right? And that could be loss of death, but it could be loss of the sibling that stopped talking to us,
Yeah.
or the parent who suddenly has dementia, or the daughter that is too stubborn for her own good. All of those things are part of this. And oftentimes the very reason that we
You
have
had to
this
put
pain.
the daughter one in there, didn't you?
Well, I'll tell you what, Matt, there's another client in here who shares that as well.
Yeah.
Me too, Matt.
There you go.
Who's this? Oh yeah, yeah. It's it's a job. It never stops.
I agree.
So I guess, Chase, you would say that even if you had CRPS diagnosed before all the loss, it could just
Yeah.
keep you stuck.
Yeah, and I would also say that you're not looking deep enough, because I think the CRPS came from a life where you lived as that type of person that I showed the
Oh,
personality.
I'm definitely there. I want to be the perfectionist doing everything.
And what does that do to your body when you put that much pressure on yourself?
Wear it down.
Yeah.
bet.
And do you think that some of that striving for perfection, some of that need for acceptance and caretaking for others, do you think that that could build up some anger deep inside?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
I would say it probably would, but you don't see it that way in the moment.
Oh yeah, no, you don't.
No, not at all.
And maybe
being an RN for so long, that's your job.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
got PTSD, Mary?
I've got OCD really bad.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, yeah, being an RN, do you know how many people in it that are my clients are RNs or teachers? Okay, or some
I've been
sort of
both.
right, and also happen to be caretakers or helping people with addiction, those kinds of things. Sometimes it's the kindest people, that goodism, that contributes to this this anger, this resentment that we've built up. And the reason that happens is because we're told as we grow up, good girls and good boys don't get angry. And so we've identified anger as a bad or scary thing, and not feeling that results in us feeling anger in our body. Okay, so let's do an experiment, because this is really fun, and you've probably seen this in one of my videos, but I really like this. What is the color, the main color associated with CRPS?
Orange.
I think red.
And red, sure. What is the main element associated with CRPS?
Fire.
Fire. Yep. So element. Yep. Water, earth, water, wind, fire.
Yeah.
Right. Fire is one of them. Okay. What happens to your face when you're very angry? What color does it turn?
Red.
Red.
What color does your limb turn when you have CRPS?
Red.
Red.
Purple.
Red or purple, yeah.
Yeah.
How many of you have seen the movie Inside Out?
Yeah.
Okay, and how many? Show of hands. I need to see this.
What's it about briefly? I can't remember.
Emotions.
Yeah.
It's a Pixar movie, and they have a bunch of emotions. They have sadness,
No.
joy.
No, I haven't seen it. Oh.
Okay, you should watch it firstly. That's a great movie. But I want to show you how anger is represented in that movie. And now, mind you, this is a movie where they're visually representing emotion, okay, as a character. This is the anger character in that movie. Does it look familiar?
Yeah.
What does it look familiar to? Does it look familiar potentially to some of the imaging for CRPS?
It looks like my foot when it flares up.
Okay. Yeah, there you go, Matt. So it's almost right in front of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it a little bit eerie that the element for CRPS is fire? The color for CRPS is orange. The color our limb turns when our face turns when we're angry is red, and our limb turns the same color. Isn't that fascinating? So that's something I want you to just think about. And especially when it comes to in the CRPS personality that I've put together, repressing healthy emotions such as anger is one part of it that we share. And you would probably
I think for me, it's more sadness than anger.
Yeah.
Me too.
So let me show you something. Give me a second. Sadness is essentially a derivative of anger as well. Okay?
Really?
Grief. Yes, it's a combination of, or a derivative of the emotion anger. So yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be anger or rage or resentment. It could be sadness. It could be disappointment. It could be that. Anger is the easiest example, especially because it's on display when it comes to CRPS's messaging and imagery. And that's actually a big reason why, I like the color blue because it's the opposite of orange. And I think looking at things deeper and moving away from this angry feeling state by feeling it, by writing letters of anger towards our son or our daughter or ourselves, and letting the emotions out, the emotions don't have to be in our body anymore.
How do you feel about the use of anger to help propel us to get better? Because it seems like that kind of works for me. Is that bad for me?
No, that's not necessarily bad at all. You're feeling anger in a way, in a way, I had that isn't in your body. Does that make sense? So like I had a client who instead of writing letters, she wrote her ex-husband's name on a watermelon and smashed it in her backyard. She let out anger in a healthy way, and it felt better. And so, when you're using anger to fuel your 5K or to fuel your virtual kickboxing sessions, I don't think that's bad at all. I think that's an expression of anger and emotion that is good. And that's a big reason why when people get angry with me in online.
Who are you talking about? Talking about? Talking about?
Yeah, what's up with that?
Me, right?
Kelly.
I'm so nice to you, Chase. I only get mad every once in a while.
So I let people let that anger out because for some reason you selected me as a safe place for that anger. I take pride in that. A lot of times the people who get the wrath of our anger are the people that we actually like and care about most. And so that's good. I accept all feelings as they come. No feelings are bad. Just like happiness is a feeling and everybody celebrates being happy, anger is also a feeling. Depression is also a feeling.
That's one thing I was going to say when we were talking about people that have coached with you personally, like I have. The one thing that I was going to mention to people if they're thinking about it is if you're looking for another person in your life to rant to cry to, that's not Chase. He's a great listener. He has a huge heart, but he's going to give you tough love too. And a lot of times those are when I got pissed off at him. It's like, damn it, I just want you to feel sorry for me right now. What the hell's wrong with you? And he really does have a good balance of compassion and empathy and that tough love. And a lot of times that tough love kind of propels me to go, oh, okay, whatever, Chase. But the next day I'm doing it, whatever it was to like, I was like, I'll show him. He pissed me off. I'm going to go do it. So it's a talent he has. I don't know where it comes from, but I love it.
Well, thanks, Kelly. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think there's a balance between like saying like, hey, you're fine just the way you are. Yeah, sulk and feel this. And also saying like, hey, if you continue to do the same thing over and over again, you will get the same result. So, hey, let's try something different. And I know you don't like it, but you need to do it. When it comes to coaching with me, you signed up to do hard things. So you should be ready to do hard things. That's both physically and emotionally. And so
You bet.
I'm not doing you a service by being extra kind to you, but I will be. You know, it's a balance. I also want you to know that not only is this true in the Bible, in other religions, but also in psychology. The thing you need the most is often in the place you least want to look. Okay, let me say that again.
Wow.
In filth it shall be found. The thing we need the most is often in the place we least want to look. So if you aren't willing to look into these dark places, into the shadows, right, then it's going to be very, very hard for you to find the light. And that's what I had to do. You know, remember in school when we did a personality test, I was one of the only greens, and the greens don't like emotions. They're hyper analytical, they're logical. That made me a great leader, a great class president. But it was also what I would say when I got that personality type, I said, yeah, this is accurate. Emotions are what make us weak. And my professor said, emotions are what make us human. And I was kind of stopped in my tracks. And I realized now that the thing I liked the least, the emotions, this aspect of our life, is the actual where the answer lied. Okay. And so, you know, from a physical standpoint, we need to rehab. From an emotional standpoint, we need to rehab. And then
Down and dirty.
Lisa Lindberg, I believe that's how I say your name, is Lisa. But anyways, you mentioned some conditions that might occur before CRPS. Would that potentially include trigeminal neuralgia followed by tinnitus? Yes, 100% it would. Tinnitus is a I don't know condition. Believe it or not, tinnitus is called the suicide symptom. How ironic. And trigeminal neuralgia is another quote unquote suicide syndrome. Okay. These are I don't know conditions. They 100% fall in the same exact category as CRPS. And what I mean by that is they're a product of the same problem. POTS is like this, PANS, PANDAS, FND, MCAS, TOS, you know, basically the alphabet conditions, plus fibromyalgia, you know, amplified musculoskeletal pain syndrome, all of these things. Yes, they fall into that category. And the generalized approach that I use when I get a client to helping overcome these things, or at least live a more fulfilling life, is pretty much the same as when I deal with someone who's dealing with CRPS. Okay, let's see. Lots of conversations in the chat. Yeah, I'll just say I've really loved this talk so far. This is awesome. I think this might be one of the coolest Q&As that'll be on YouTube. And I'm so thankful for all of you coming here. Do you have any more questions for me or thoughts, whether it's about the things I'm offering or something, to another question just in general?
I have a question about something you said earlier about you challenged us that the CRPS was there all along. So I had this injury, the injury to my nerve in 2018. So I didn't have any of that pain at all until then. And you know, it was the next year my mother died. Then the next year my son died. But you're challenging basically that it was there even before the pain existed that we have today.
So
is that right or not?
Not quite. So it's not CRPS that was there, but we were living our lives in a certain way, being the type of people we are, which is a hypersensitive, you know, very empathetic, right? Constantly worried about, you know, what our son was up to, right? All of the people in our life. And so it just so happened that your body picked your jaw, or the nerve in your cheeks there. And it just so happened that was the case. For me, it started as my back, because I was told my whole life growing up, your dad has a bad back. Bad backs run in the family. You know, be careful when you bend your back. And so, of course, my brain selected as a distraction mechanism my back. And then that was reinforced by my surgeon, who said, this herniated disc, which, believe it or not, 42% of people my age have a herniated disc and no pain. This herniated disc is your problem. You need surgery. And so I had the surgery. Didn't fix it. I had another surgery. fixed it, aka the placebo effect. Then, of course, my brain needed a new distraction, and it just happened to be my foot. Okay. Here's another phrase: shot myself in the foot.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are all things that we say: heartbreak, backstab, gut feeling, etc. That show up, emotions showing up in our body. This is so universally known; it's in our language, right? And so, yeah, Cheryl, I would say you always had this personality, but then and that's not a bad thing. That's what makes you a wonderful person. But once you had this breaking point where your rock or your support system or the person you turned to or someone you loved left, whether it be in death or in disconnect from us entirely, that is when the brain said, I need to protect Cheryl from these profound emotions so profound that they literally might kill you, like a bus that is about to hit you when you step off a curb. Okay, so the brain is using the pain as your big brother, your protector. We need to say, hey, I got this, step aside. I can face these things that are in front of me. And that is hard to do. And sometimes when we do it, the pain comes on even harder to reinforce that distraction. And so, before we go on to the next thing, I'm gonna name a couple books that are on my reading list that pertain to some of these things we've talked about here. Okay. Firstly, The Brain That Changes Itself. That is the book where I found the reason for mirror therapy and why it works, the invention of it by B.S. Ramachandran. That is also the book where I found that training the good side of our body, quote unquote good side, and not training the bad side at all will actually result in 30% gains on the bad side. Okay. So that's one book, The Brain That Changes Itself by Norman Doidge, I believe. The second book that would be pertaining to this is The Expectation Effect. That talks about the experiment with the lotion. You'll find that experiment in there, or at least experiments similar to it. That is by David Robson. Another book that would pertain to this is called Surgery, the Ultimate Placebo. That is written by Ian Harris, who is an orthopedic surgeon and is basically railing against the orthopedic surgery community and saying that the scalpel is the best placebo in medicine. Okay. That is the reason why, believe it or not, surgery on your back is equivalent in results as fake surgery on your back. Okay, so someone will do a surgery on someone's back. They will actually remove the disc fluid. Someone will do a real surgery and remove the disc fluid. Someone will do a fake surgery and just make an incision and then stitch it up so they think the surgery was done. And guess what? The results are the same. 18 months later, both groups are in the exact same place.
Wow.
So that's in Surgery, the Ultimate Placebo. And then the next two, these are very, very important ones that really dig at these things. And I promise you, they will be hard to read. Some people get mad at me for even having them read them, is The Mind-Body Prescription by John Sarno. That book talks about anger and the repression of it. And believe it or not, I mentioned tinnitus as one of the things that is included in that, as well as a bunch of other conditions. That is the only book that mentions CRPS that is not titled CRPS that I've ever read. And then additionally, When the Body Says No by Dr. Gabor Mate. And lastly, one more for those of you who are interested in addiction or understanding addiction, The Realm of Hungry Ghosts by Gabor Mate is another great one. You can find a lot of these in my top 10 books for overcoming chronic pain. That's on my YouTube. But yeah. So anyone have one? I can do one more question, and then I think I'm reaching my limit as it is.
No.
Nobody. Okay. Anybody else that is a client of mine that would like to share their experience before I wrap up?
I am experiencing just happiness. In fact, today, Chase, I had a flare up right almost immediately before I sat down when you said, "There's Matt." I had just did something, won't say what it was, in the bathroom, and on the way over here, I was like, I was so depressed. I was just like, wow, this is what a time. I'm 5 days to go before I leave on this trip, and it's like, and then right as I sat down, I said, you know what? This has happened 1,000 times before. It'll probably happen 1,000 times again. And right now, that flare-up's gone.
I love it.
And that mental way of thinking is because of you. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, thanks,
I
man.
have a similar story. I thought that this shot today, like I was looking forward to it, but I wasn't because I thought, oh gosh, it's gonna flare me up just talking about everything, but I'm good. I haven't flared up. So
Way to go, Pat.
yeah, it's
Well,
all due to Chase's coaching. So if
Yeah.
you're at all interested, gee, do it because you won't be sorry.
I have one more suggestion. When Chase has cured us all, we should all meet to have a party for Chase.
I love it.
Absolutely.
well, I'll tell
In
you what, guys.
Japan?
There you go. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. There is a 5K in North Carolina that the Window Pane, my company, aka me, is a sponsor of. It's called the Fight the Flame 5K. And I'll be getting some more details out about that eventually, but that could be our first
That'd be wonderful.
potential meeting. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina, September 28th. But there'll be more details coming out.
That'd be phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. So exciting. Janelle, you look like you want to say something.
I know. I feel like you're like looking at me when she's gonna talk. She doesn't. I don't like talking in front of people, even though I'm a teacher. I like talking to kids, not grown-ups. But I just wanted to tell Elsie, 6 months ago, I could barely walk. I had to use a walker. I had to sit in the shower because I couldn't stand. I thought that was going to be my life. And now I'm walking. I'm back to work full time because of Chase.
Congratulations.
And I'm just every day, I'm not saying I don't have like my really bad days. Like my husband was just saying he's been listening to our little talk here. And when I'm low, I'm really low. But I feel like I come out of it a lot faster and I'm having better days than bad days anymore. I mean, like this morning, I was with my girlfriend shopping at Walmart, getting stuff for school. We're teachers. And then we went to lunch and had to rush home for the meeting. And now I'm going to go back out. And I never thought I could do stuff like that ever. And I feel like the more active I am, the better it's getting. I feel like when I slow down, it gets worse. Yeah. So I'm just trying to stay more active. And the teaching little second graders all day keeps my mind off of it. And sometimes my foot starts to hurt. The shoe flies off, and my students, they're so used to it. Like they don't even, but there are days I can keep my shoe on all day. And compression socks, I feel like have helped a lot. I don't know why, but I feel better as long as I have a compression sock. So, and it took me a while. Like I would put it on for like a couple seconds and I'd take it off. And now I'm keeping them on all day. So
you go.
I can't even imagine that.
I couldn't either, but just put it on. And every day I kept putting it on a little bit longer, and I'd be so proud of myself. I would tell Chase, like, have my compression sock on for an hour. But I just like, it's good that talking to Chase and having those sessions, and my husband listening in to those sessions. So every time I'm in a low and stuff, my husband's my Chase now. And he's like, remember what Chase said? It's like this now.
That's what my wife does too.
So he's laughing. So yeah, I'd suggest if you're not with Chase on one-to-one, it's worth the money.
Definitely.
If Chase makes $1 million one day, he deserves it.
Yes.
And
that.
when he writes his first book, he better. I'm
Mhm.
going to buy that book.
You
I'll be
bet.
one of the first people.
You bet.
And
So-
think how good you're going to feel in September when you do that 5K.
There you go. That's
I might
right.
be walking it. I hope somebody's walking it with
I'll
me.
be there with you. That's all I can do is
Okay.
walk.
Yeah, we've
Well,
got
you never know. We might be running
I'm
by
telling you,
then.
something to shoot for.
I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
I was told by my doctors I'd never run, I'd never squat, I'd never deadlift again because my back is too fragile and I'm going to be in pain forever. I've done all those things this week and I'll do them again next week.
You
And
bet.
Janelle, you've come a super long way. Pat and Matt, you guys have come a super long way. Cheryl, you're coming far already with our few sessions. Amy, if she's still in here, she's come super far. I just, Emily, you asked, can I explain why compression socks are helpful? Sure, because it helps the pressure. But what I want you to understand, even though Pat and Matt and Janelle are sharing physical things that they're achieving, for all three of them, there were deep emotional things that are main factors when it comes to this pain. So I would encourage you to not fixate as much on the physical and remember that, these things that I've mentioned, covertly about things that are going on in life are a big part of this pain. And we'll continue to learn that through not only the Power Club, which I've started, and I put a link in the chat so you can join that if you would like to, but also that's all over my online course, and it's 100% of things that I do in pain coaching. And just so you know, Matt, Pat, and Janelle, their experience with coaching with me is completely tailored to them. This is not a cookie cutter thing. Each person I approach differently because I believe that you are all different and unique people. You are not a foot or a shoulder or a jaw or a hand to me. You are a complex and amazing human being. And so that's what I like to approach with. Carl Jung, someone I look up to quite a lot, said, know all the methods, master all the techniques, but when you touch another human being, just be another human being. And that's my philosophy when it comes to everything that I'm doing when it comes to CRPS. If you're not in a position financially to sign up for some of these things, I am going to continue to keep putting out free resources. This entire video is going to be on YouTube tomorrow for free. I have 70 hours and counting of free material. So that's always going to be out there. And if you're not on my email list, you can go to my website, thewindowpain.com, and join it.
Thank you, Chase.
This is awesome. This might be the best Q&A so far. I might have.
Your mentors have done well.
Well, I've been helped by Laurel over there, Matt. Janelle, you're
oh
not
my
alone.
God, so have I. What a coincidence. She's still setting up the trip.
There she is. So Laurel's been there listening in, just like Janelle's husband has.
Always.
And Pat's got Clark, and so we have our own teams and our groups, and you guys motivate me. I mean, this is the stuff I post on Facebook. This doesn't feel like work to me at all. This is the most enjoyable, fun thing I've ever done, and I'm excited to just keep it going. If you
That's
guys
when you know you're getting paid for something you love.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. My dream one day is if I could do all this for free. That'd be sweet. And maybe we'll get there. But I'm excited. The group is at almost 700 people, which is wild because we're at 640.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, we're at 640 the start of this week. So, spread the word. If you know people suffering with CRPS, feel free to send out the info and get them in the Facebook group at least. And yeah, I think I'm getting ready to wrap up. I've drank, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I've drank this entire thing, this electrolytes while we've been talking. And so now
me and Laurel have been driving around just picking people up and throwing them in the garage. So they'll be patient next week.
So they're the people joining the group, huh?
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, guys. We'll wrap up here unless anyone has something else. And
thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good seeing everyone.
Yes.
Good to see you guys. I'll stop the
Great to
recording.
be a part.
Yeah.